I'll call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock on the nose. Punctuality. Good. It's wonderful. Like to read our statement of, first, let me let everybody know that we have a couple special guests here tonight. Freya, who is our new select board member, is joining us. Welcome. And I know there's another guy in the back room, probably doesn't want to be identified, but Jim Boudreau, our town administrator, is also here. I'd like to do a quick roll call to see who's here. Brian Cronin. Here. Brian Kelly. Here. Dave Sinkowski. Here. Howie Kretzenberg.
Here.
Thank you, Howie. Rick Murray.
Yes.
Dave Haley.
Yes.
TJ.
Here.
Harbor Master Moan. And our associates, Mike Gibbons. Here. Kevin Norton. Mike DeMeo. Here. And Nick said he would not be here. That's hang on one more minute. Got it. Thank you. Let's read our statement of commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion. The Scituate Waterways Commission is committed to providing an environment of respect during meetings. We ask that all members to interact in a polite manner when there is an agreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, to feel welcomed and respected. We ask our committee members and all who participate to commit to these standards to support and respect our community. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved. Second.
See, Mr. Moon has arrived. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry. We have, actually, we have a remote member, so we have to actually do it by person. So roll call. Brian Cronin.
Aye.
Brian Kelly.
Aye.
Dave Sinkowski.
Aye.
Howie Kretzenberg.
Aye.
Rick Murray.
Aye.
Dave Haley.
Aye.
TJ Malfstrask.
Aye.
Sorry, TJ. And Stephen.
Aye.
Motion passes. I figured that we would try to go in, generally we've got our order on how we run our business, but I wanted to try to move ahead and sort of have the discussion on the Harbor Master feasibility study update. We appreciate everybody last month coming to sort of hear where things are. We're sorry that we didn't know that we were going to have a lively and a full audience, so we tried to get a better building here so we could get a little bit more spread out and everybody could have an opportunity. So our goal really is to just continue the discussion we started last month and see where it's going to take us. Since that time, who's the O'Toole's? Since that time, numbers, we've been trying to work on the numbers on cost for a building, a proposed building such as this, number one. And number two, we received the final report. All of our members have had a chance to review the final report and have had, and probably have some comments that will be made tonight. And also, I tried to, when I reached out to anybody that attended last month's meeting, I tried to make sure that we were able to get the information out to everybody as much as possible. And if anybody wanted to see a copy of the final report, to reach out to Stephen's office. So I don't know how many people were able to do that. So our goal is, once again, we're going to have a good discussion. We want to make sure that we have a discussion where everybody has the ability to be able to talk and have a good opinion on where this thing is going. With that said, we have to go to my favorite guy, 2 seats down from me on the left, Mr. Brian Kelly, who is our financial person. Brian, can you start? Our goal is has anybody had a chance to look at the plans, a yay or a nay? Yes or no? Has anybody in the audience had a chance to look at the plans?
Yeah.
Yes. Great, thank you. Everybody is aware that we're looking at the possible Harbor Master building that's going to be located where the current Harbor Master building is in that footprint. The goal is to decide on whether or not this board will decide on whether or not to recommend to the select board whether to send something that says we support this or we do not support this, what type of building, whether or not we support the various structures of this building, which we've sort of broken it down into 3 components, which we'll be talking about tonight. The other impacts that we're facing is trying to make sure from a financial standpoint that we are still able to run the waterways. And as most people know, this is done through an enterprise account. So everything that comes in also has to be paid out for our expenses. And we also know, and as we mentioned last month, that we have we have a big harbor dredging project coming, and we've got some dredging in the South River that have been on our capital improvement projects for quite some time. So we're gonna update those numbers as well. So then we also take into account this building and to try to figure out how we're gonna actually tie that into our financial plans. We've also been tasked by the select board next month to be able to give them an update on our rates and our fee structure for the next 5 years. So we're gonna get a little bit of an update on where we are with some of those plans as well. Brian Kelly, did I lay it out okay?
I think you did.
Okay, I would like to have you sort of get the ball rolling on our plan.
Okay, before I do that, I have to ask Mr. Cronin to stop sharing.
Yep. As Brian's getting set up, if anybody has questions, please raise your hand, send them to the chair. And then we'll go from there. I'm not really into the back and forth between, members, but if it comes through me, I'll address a certain member if somebody wants to ask that question. With Brian sort of leading this piece, and there's a question from the audience, I would like to have him sort of go through his presentation. We have some questions after that, and I'll probably just go right to Brian instead of all the formal stuff. Okay. Well, good to see the guys back
Trying to
there.
get there.
Brian, you good to go?
1 second. Before I begin, I just want to see if our liaison to the committee, Rick Murray,
Rick is here.
if you have any other comments that you'd like to share regarding this whole project.
Not necessarily until we get to the project itself, but I just would like to remind people, because the last meeting we had was energetic and at times, and I just wanted to remind people that 2 things. Number 1 is that I was asked to be on this committee, to represent the waterways on this committee. And I did accept that only with the permission of the chair of the committee. So I've had some conversations with people who seem to have thought that I was inserting myself onto the committee and was in fact the chair, which I assure you, I most assuredly was not. I was asked to be on the committee and I really enjoyed it, and I thought the committee did a very good job. Second point is, glad I'm sitting right next to the guy. Dave Sinkowski brought up a very good point at that last meeting about, voting and moving forward and all that sort of stuff. I was one of several people that said, no, we shouldn't be voting on this at the last meeting because we had only just received that report ourselves. May not even you folks, but the committee just a couple of days earlier, and that includes myself. We had seen previous versions, but we hadn't seen the final one. So in my opinion, we are now at a point where community has seen the report, we've seen the report, and we can have discussion for however long we want today or at our next meeting as well, or what have you. So Waterways can make an informed comment to the to the select board about where we feel on it. So I just wanted to level set my role on this because it has been disturbing to me at times to be told that I was the chair of a committee that I was not. And that I inserted myself on the committee, which I did not. I was responding to requests. And I enjoyed my time on the committee. And I enjoy the Waterways Commission, having been on and off it for over 25 years now. And so I'm looking forward to this conversation very much, because I think while we are behind somewhat in terms of our original calendar, but we do have an accepted feasibility report. It's a feasibility report, it exists. Now it's time for discussion. That's it.
Great, thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm quickly just gonna hit the financials for 24 are closed, they're unaudited. I've worked with Nancy on this and let's see, come on, maybe. Okay, so, the final numbers, as I said, are unaudited. They will be available until the next meeting, but that being said, we'll exceed our budget amount by about $400,000. And that's due to three factors. One, the slip fee increase, two, low slip initial revenue estimations, and secondly, the 1 year Scituate Waterways lease true up. So due to those issues, and also we had some Cohasset contribution, which will probably, or no, which will disappear in the future. So those events all led to us having an extremely healthy year. Expenses for Stephen will finish below the target level. I believe they're finishing somewhere around 96, 97%. So retained earnings will be back in a healthy number. My estimation is it will be somewhere around $500,000 or so. So on the harbor master assumptions, we made the following assumptions. One, that we would get two $1 million grants from Seaport, so a total of $2 million. So that's taken off the top of any one of these building different ABC configurations. We assume no FEMA BRIC grants. And we assume that for this project, the town will utilize a 25-year debt structure versus the normal 20 that we're using. So, Chris Doctor from Olson, the architectural firm that did the work, works hand in hand with Fennessy to do the cost modeling. And as I ran through this, while we've received now, I believe, a third set of numbers from Chris via Fennessy via Chris. There's still some concerns that we have with these numbers, and I'll identify those quickly for everybody. So in my models, I'm going to show both the Fennessy estimates, and also I'm using the Harbor Master build in Marion, which came in at $2,400 a square foot back in 2023-24. So in conversation with Chris and what's identified in the feasibility study, the project does not include all-in costs. And by that, I mean, there's no architectural fees, there's no engineering fees, there's no permitting, there's no PM. In other words, project management, which we used in the past, be it CLE, sorry, as well as Paul Scott, infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. You guys can read it. Secondly, there's no accounting for additional costs. Optimistic inflation, as clearly stated here. No probable increase in supply chain. He indicates it, Fennessy indicates it in the study, that it's something that they're concerned about, but they did not incorporate any ocean or overland transportation costs. According to them, the tariff impacts were too early to understand. So none of these costs were put in here. So effectively what we're getting is a building, and the build date on it, I believe, is March 2028. He also is assuming a minimum of 5 bids. Clearly states any less than 5 bids, the cost will probably be higher. And finally, the start date. So the start date of March 28, I'm sorry, seems to me to be pretty aggressive. And included in there, if it does not occur, there will be a 5 to 6% annual increase on costs each year thereafter. So what we have here is, we're going to start with the Harbor Master building only. On the left side of the screen, you'll see the Fennessy estimates. On the right side of the screen, I'm using the Marion estimates. When I ran these numbers and assumed existing debt service plus the 2 dredge projects, that being the South River dredge and the Harbor dredge projects, it became evident by fiscal year 29-30 that we would need an additional $100,000 to $300,000 on their low number, on my number, $200,000 to $400,000 in net new revenue. So when I take the big 3, as I call it, there's actually 4 revenue buckets, that being Scituate Boatworks, the lease, and then moorings, waterway use fee, and slips. They contribute 91% of our revenue. If I take away Scituate Boatworks, that's a 30-year contract, and it's not something we can renegotiate. that the big three, as I call it, contribute to 77% of our revenue. So we would have to increase, that's the only lever that we can pull, those three buckets by 38% on my number, 28% on his, across the board. And I'm showing what the results would that be for slips, resident, non-resident mooring, and waterway use fee. And I picked arbitrarily a 25-foot boat, since that seems to be the midpoint size of the boat in our marinas, as well as on the moorings, and showed what the ramifications would be for increased costs on that. So any questions on the harbor master build only so far? Okay, moving along to the two building, or the harbor master and public building only. Again, Fantasy's numbers on the left, my numbers are on the right. My numbers assume an $8 million bill, $2 million grants, that comes in at $6 million of debt service. So on that, we would need to generate an additional $400,000 to $600,000 in revenue. The reason that there's a range there is $400,000 to get us to almost break even, with retained earning contributions of $200,000, which we like to aim for every year, because of the fact that we have historically over the past 8 years that I've been doing it, about 100 to 150,000 minimum on unexpected costs. For example, if there's a storm that rolls through, or the electrical system corrodes, or an engine blows, or whatever the case may be, these are unanticipated expenses. We average somewhere in the vicinity of $100 to $150,000 a year on those costs. So I'm looking for an additional $200,000 in retained earnings contributions. So therefore, that's the lower number. So that will result in either a low side 38, high side, not high side. My guesstimate, 57% increase across the board. Again, once again, I'm showing what the fee increase would be to do that. And I'm not being parochial about this. I'm not saying this is what should happen. I'm just taking the 57 and assigning it across those three buckets. I'm not advocating for this. I'm just saying we need that much more revenue. And if we spread it across everybody, that's what it would be. Finally, the three building solution. If we don't get federal money, the Hennessy current bid, rather not bid, estimation is about $8.5 million. Again, using Marion numbers, I come in at 10 million. So we would need, as you guys can see the numbers there, 700 to 900 on my side, 450 to 650 on theirs, be an 85% increase across the board on existing slip, mooring, and waterway use fee. So before I go to the next slide, this is like drinking from a fire hose. I'm sure there's questions, but before I go any further, is any questions from anybody on the board?
I have a question. So
You don't have, anybody else? No, go ahead.
So if your projections are from Marianne from 2023 and knowing what the cost of living is each year, they should be, I think, a little conservative. Your numbers are low.
Yeah, so when the numbers first started, so I think I have it on my first slide. I apologize. Go back for a minute. Yeah, back in June on the harbor master only, he was at 3.8. He's now at 4.7. The number that he threw out in our May meetings was actually even a little bit lower than that. I think it was 3.5. So I've been trying to move his numbers up to the Marion number, but I agree with you 100%. The likelihood that a building that was designed and built in 2023 at $2,400 a square foot would cost the same in 2028 is probably pretty unlikely.
Okay, thank you.
Was, sorry, go.
No, please.
Yeah,
Mike.
so when Olson was in for the prior meeting, did they estimated before they went out to this other company at 2,800, was it? 2,600?
No, he used the Plymouth build, which was 1,900.
Oh, 19.
1,900 square foot, and it was built in 2017, 18, I believe. And when Plymouth went to bid on the earlier numbers that Olson had estimated, the bids came in $1 million to $1.2 million, I believe, higher. So they had to go back to town meeting and get an additional $1 million and then go back in, and that was the 1,900.
Okay, that's what brings it to nine
Yes.
hundred.
So that was what he originally used. He was using 1900, and he's been slowly drafting up.
2017.
And I think it was finally finished in 19.
Okay.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Okay,
Hi, Colleen Burgess, 130 Oceanside Drive. I had a question about the second and the third scenario, where you've got the public building, and Coast Guard. So, is all of the funding coming from just the grant and waterways, or is the town kicking in any money because they get all the excise tax from the boats as well?
So the expert answer for that would be a gentleman who's in the last row, left seat.
I saw him.
Second left, no, second left.
I took the last seat out, by the way, in the
Right,
last row.
sorry about that, so. I would defer to. If you don't have a problem with that, I'd defer to Town Administrator Jim Boudreau to answer that question.
I'd say it's early for that answer, but unlikely.
Say that again?
Unlikely. Early for the town to make that decision, but it's unlikely that the town will use regular tax revenue on this project.
So just to follow up, you
That's not
use
my
enterprise funds for a public building for all of the public, not just the payers into the fund?
Yeah, that's correct.
That is right.
Okay,
Especially the two-part building,
yeah.
the whole goal is to be able to provide, decent bathrooms for, the harbor area. Because as everybody knows, one of the biggest challenges here in our community is, you can't go potty anywhere. So that's why the town is trying, some different methods, with some, portable labs, around the beaches this year.
But
And
is that coming out of waterways?
well, that's what we're trying to get to on that. We don't know that answer yet.
Doesn't seem right, actually, like when you pay a waterways fee, you don't think you're paying for
Right.
public restrooms for the entire town.
And I think from this point, this board will make a recommendation to the select board. And we'll probably have to sort of get their feelings on it, on whether or not how that's going to go. So
Okay.
I think our goal is to decide either tonight or the next meeting is where we want to be with this project to be able to send it to the select board. Mike, did you have a question?
Yes, Mike O'Neill, 33 Circuit. Just a question regarding the example that you're using. You're using Marion Maritime Center. What is the square footage size of the Marion Maritime Center versus our Maritime Center?
So. If I could just ask you a question first, so. The new Marion build is significantly smaller than the existing harbor master and the proposed new building. I believe that the Marion. Harbor master building is around 1,500 square feet, give or take 1,473, something like that. And I believe the current harbor master build is about 2,000 square feet. And the proposed is right in here at, bear with me. 2,325 square feet, so about 800 more square feet.
I see. So that Marion Center is coming in at 4 million at that 1,400 square feet or.
Whatever it came in at, yeah, it was 2,400 times their square footage. Yeah.
Seems like a wide range in the construction cost index there. I mean, how do we can we get more information on that? It seems.
Mike, that's a really good question that I've been trying to get and driving through with Steve's help, with Olson through to Tennessee to have them come in with what I call more realistic numbers, because if you read the 4 or 5 page amendment that was put out where they put all the caveats in there, it clearly indicates that the proposed costs they have are going to be low. So the question is, my 2,400 started when they were at 1,900. I was trying to drag them up. And then the numbers went down to 1,600. And so I, again, had further conversations, and then it became obvious that really what they've designed is just a building with no these other fees that go into the whole process of building something, and not taking into account certain things that are obvious that probably will happen. But if you take the most optimistic view, that's what we're getting. So I'm trying to move it to a more conservative point of view, because once before we went through a process on a different project where we spent a great deal of time, and that was specifically the South River Dredge. And we put it out to bid. And the bids that came in were grossly higher than what we had estimated. And we had two choices. We're gonna lose the grant money, or both Harbor Master Moan and Harbor Master DeMayo, with the respective town management, agreed that we would do a summer dredge, which nobody does that. And the cost came down because there was quite a bit more number of people, but it was extremely stressful that we would lose this grant money. And again, on another Cole Parkway rebuild, we almost lost our grant money on that as well for similar things. So I'm trying to drive this up to a more realistic number, Mike.
So should we really be looking at the other harbor master buildings that are in like size to ours, for instance, Plymouth and Marshfield?
So Plymouth was 1,900 square foot, so that's low.
Yeah, I called, they told me it was 2,400.
Well, we talked to the harbor master Chad, and I also did the math, had some of the square footage and what the bill was, and did the simple math, and I came in at 19. And that's what Chris had also indicated as well, who was the architect on that. Mike, your bill,
I believe my building was 3,800, but that includes the breezeway, the decks, ADA ramps, stairs, steps, every piece of square foot of the building.
3,800.
3,800,
Everything.
Okay.
Stairs, everything.
Now we're getting.
That's what you have to consider.
right?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. That's a good question. We have Nantucket out there, but as we all know, we can't count Nantucket, right? Because they've gone through, I think, 3 different sets of architects, and they've gone out to bid 3 different times. And the numbers have been so out of control for building similar size, maybe another 500 square feet above, maybe 800. Then the Harbor Master building, they're up around 8.5 million now. So that's just Nantucket though.
Yeah. I say go with it?
Mike, yeah,
Yeah. Haven't been through the process, it's arduous, but I think a lot of things folks don't know is that in government, when you build a building school, doesn't really matter, fire station, you get the pay prevailing wage. It's not that you can hire a private contractor to build a building, so the prevailing wage to the state's mandate set, that's how the projects are set with the bids that come in. I know something has to be done down there, I don't have all the answers, but we all should be looking at the geotechnical borings. I don't think that's been done, and the structure engineer, I'd like to see that report. I'd be most concerned with the revetment wall that the building currently sits on. Like I said, haven't been through the process, I have experience with it. Marshall has the same revetment wall as Cole Parkway does, and we had to come like 25 feet off that revetment wall to not disturb the revetment wall from falling into the harbor. So we didn't use wooden pilings, we actually went with helical screws, we actually drilled in 66 helical pilings with concrete abutments on top of that. That's how we did it. I think it probably drive the cost up a little bit versus wooden pilings. Also not in the project, there was the OPM fee is like 10 to 15% of the project cost for managing the project. Lastly, we should also be looking at the Cole Parkway Improvement Project. If we do build a new building, we don't want to undo something that the Cole Parkway project did, and all of a sudden now we're tearing the asphalt up and drainage up and putting another building in there. So those things should be, that's all.
Hey, Dave, I just have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Is Mr. Kelly done with his presentation? Are we moving, or was that a pause for clarification? Because there's a ton of questions we can keep going, which these are all good questions. It's great conversation, but I just want to make sure. So you're not done, you might be saying something else that might answer some of these questions.
I don't think. So where I was going to show is one last slide, I believe, or 2 possibly. So where will we get money from? So this is showing, when I talk back about having to raise, I believe on the midpoint building, it was 200,000 to 400,000 a year. So I'm showing the waterway use fee, a $25 increase, what that's gonna generate, 25, 50, 75, 100, 10% increase in slips. We just did one 25, we did one in 22. And finally, moorings, what each dollar would generate, dollar a foot that is, obviously. So for us to get the $200,000 number, again, I come back to, that's a pretty steep hill that we gotta climb on the fee side. So
What's that, Mr. Kelly,
Hold on,
to share
hold on.
his presentation with me so we can post it on the website, there are people out here. trying to
Sure.
take Pictures of the screen, so if you could do that, we'll have it posted tomorrow, so you can stop trying to put it on the screen.
What do the numbers look like if we don't get the 2 million?
If we don't let,
If we don't get the grant?
Grants for the seaport.
that's a really good question.
They don't look better.
Could I just clarify also, does the grant money apply to all three options,
So,
regardless of which one we choose?
so now we're asking questions
Or
that
no.
we really can't answer because the question is, we're planning on going to Seaport for some money, and I believe the town administrator and, the town fathers and mothers, are planning on looking to the federal agency for help on a rebuilding solution, the Coast Guard side. So I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but, yes, go ahead.
I would just say that we had 2 million in there, is you can only get a maximum of 1 million per year. We expect this to be a 2-year build. So this is us saying we would hope to get grants for that, right? That's best case scenario.
Well, as the piggy bank, we're just wondering how much is gonna come out of our butts if you don't have the money.
Got you. Great question.
That's what we're trying to get at. Sir, name and address, please.
Lance Offen, 29 Circuit Avenue.
Thank you. Additional questions, please. Front row.
It's Bill Donovan, 11 Darkness Hill Drive, Scituate. I attended the last meeting a month ago, and I had the feeling that this has already been decided, or it's going down the road. The 3 scenarios talk about what we're gonna do. Is there a scenario, was there an option to do nothing? My wife and I travel around to a lot of different harbors. Yes, we've seen harbor master buildings that are much bigger and nicer than the Scituate Harbor Master one, but I've seen some that are considerably smaller. New Hampshire, as an example, down the vineyard, hundreds and hundreds of moorings and slips they administer. They work out of a 10 by 12 shed at the edge of the water. And having a boat in the harbor for 25, 30 years now. I just wonder, why are we talking about this? And then when I see the different scenarios, one second scenario, have public access, build restrooms. That's all well and good. That's good for the town. When you see what happens downtown on Front Street. However, why is the Waterways Commission paying for that? I mean, I've seen tour buses come to the harbor every week from Boston, and where do they stop? The Harbor Master Building. Heritage Days, the Carnival, they're all in there. But that's a benefit for the town, to promote the town, I think, having those facilities. But they're not just benefiting voters, because the transient voters that come to the town moorings, never mind, other moorings in the town. They're not that many compared to all the other people that are in town. So I wonder, I don't see a scenario here of doing nothing,
That scenario is always on the table.
but I didn't see any impact.
Well, I think we're trying to provide the most realistic numbers for an actual build, but anytime you're looking at some type of project, you always have the ability to say no. And I think that's what this board is trying to figure out. What is the best scenario to send to our select board?
But yeah, that's the first I've heard coming up.
Dave, if I may for one second,
Please, Mike.
just to follow up answered on that, so the feasibility study was brought to us because they wanted to do it, so part of the feasibility study was,
And who were they?
the harbor master.
DA, right? What he's trying to say is this cannot come from us.
Well, yeah, we're reviewing it, trying to make sense of it and see, like we do with anything that will involve the water, right, so we're looking at that. But part of that feasibility study was they did look at the existing building and made a decision they couldn't do anything with the existing building. So, but there was no option to do nothing at all. We're just evaluating whether a building could be done.
It's not our idea. We're asked to evaluate someone else's idea, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, John Redden, 3 Roberts Drive. I just want to follow up on that because I actually looked at this report on
feasibility study. And they do have in a section in the report about renovations of the Harbor Master Building, which, given the prices they have here, were considerably less than the prices of building a whole new building, and maybe with these additional add-ons with public restrooms and the Coast Guard. So is that something that's within this commission's area of recommendation of renovations as opposed to a whole new build?
So before we talk about the structural side, because that's not my domain, so I believe that those numbers came in at close to 4 million, their estimate, right? 3.7 to 4.
Well, the top was 4 million.
Right.
3.7 to 4 million, but that included $750,000 for $1,000 of additional square footage, and there was no explanation why that was necessary. And also 260,000 for an elevated deck and site work, and none of that was, to my reading, justified in this. So that would drop it down in the area.
So I'll let, I think Jim can answer the question, but before he does, so when you do construction on a building, there's certain metrics or numbers that when they get hit. So for example, ADA compliance, I believe, is 20%. FEMA is 50%. So once you do 50% of the, not the assessed value, but the fair market value of the structure, then you trigger FEMA. And for this type of renovation, you would trigger FEMA, which is the raising of the building, which requires the elevator for ADA and other things. But that being said, that was their first shot at it, or first guess or estimate, I should say. And at that point, they were projecting a new Harbor Master Building to be the exact, well, not exact, but within a couple of $100,000. That was the June estimate. The July estimate now, the Harbor Master Building is coming up at 4.7, a new one, right? That's not the numbers I'm using, but that, their numbers were around the same price as a renovation. Jim, you want to speak?
No, I mean, you answered the question pretty clearly, Jerry. Once you get over 50% of the value of the building, then you must meet FEMA flood flow, which means the building has to go up. And at that point, that's when the costs really get expensive. That's why we're talking about a pocket Pier 44 as opposed to renovating that building. So the renovation will end up kicking off those FEMA codes, and that's when it gets expensive.
In part because the current building is on a slab. So you can't just.
Yeah, but that doesn't, there's a separate entry for retrofitting and raising the building. I'm including that, but I don't see why you couldn't subtract almost $1 million from adding 1,000 square feet for an unknown reason. Also for adding an elevated deck and site work, which is not explained. So I don't know why that couldn't be chipped down to more than $3 million area. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just reading what they did in their own.
No, that's a fair point that we should ask for clarification, because we're guessing that's probably deck work and structural work that is required, ramps, when you raise it. We're guessing on this one, but instead of guessing, we'll go back and ask for the architect to provide us with,
Brian,
yes,
that's to bring in a PDA, bathrooms,
right.
showers, walk hallways, you know, coming in the building.
No,
It has to be
I think
bigger.
his question is additional square footage.
That's the additional square footage. You can't,
So we're gonna expand the walls.
you're gonna have to either go up, push out into the garage and go up to make everything fit. All the ADA requirements.
I just have a question for the chair, if I could,
So-
for Brian or just anybody
Yes.
else. Do we have any more information about the likelihood of the Coast Guard being interested in staying? Any new thing come in over the last month? If there is, I'm not being coy, I don't know, I'm genuinely curious. The last I know is, a month or two old. Is there any new information?
I haven't heard anything from my end. Stephen, anything, have you heard anything? No?
Thank you.
Mr. Boudreau, have you heard anything, on the town level,
In terms of those not leaving,
about a commitment to stay?
they are committed to stay to the best they can. Right now, we staff the weekends based on their staffing level, but we've had discussions with them. They have a new commander for our sector, and he is committed to Scituate, committed to working with Scituate, and committed to staffing Scituate.
Thank you.
There were a couple alarming things that were missing from the study, considering how much the study cost. I think it was $140,000 for the study,
I believe the town share was about 35 and the grant
but
from.
the overall study,
Yes.
the scope of work was $140,000. Well, to Harbor Master DeMayo's point, there are no engineering plans in here. There's no soil testing.
Yep.
And there are no alternates considered. It says none considered at this time. And in looking on this website, I think we have a total of 3 people that are in that building in the wintertime. 3. It just seems that some of the suggestions that were brought up in the last meeting we had should be given some more weight, and one of them being those trailers. 4 trailers could occupy the Coast Guard building if that were to come down for a seasonal need, and those are ADA compliant. They're very fancy, they're seasonal, and it just seems like a much better option than a $10 million burden on the taxpayers and voters. So I'm just saying that for the amount of money that was spent on this, seems to be lacking some alternative options. And it seems to be a study of one thing, a sale of a harbor master building. There are no other controls in this study. And it's lacking.
Thank you, Mike. Yes, sir.
George McKenna, Wheeler Ave, to Mr. Kelly's analysis. So the building's the projected building will be much larger than the existing building. As we all know, with new buildings, overhead maintenance go up. Is there any variable that you took into account in terms of the slip fee increase for increased overhead?
So I'm assuming that the OpEx will increase once the building is complete. My run on OpEx is 5% up to 29, and if it's starting at 30, I'm using a 6.5%. I'm adding another 1.5% for OpEx for the building. Heat, et cetera, electricity, yada, 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 for the building's open for 12 months. But that's all I did. I think, I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but that's what I did on future, yeah. But we're trying to keep this on a 5-year lookout, because trying to predict 10 years out, it's like trying to predict the weather in 10 days. I mean, might get it right, might get it wrong, probably get it wrong, but so what we're trying to do is there's a bunch of projects that are ongoing on the waterways. This is obviously a gigantic one. We're trying to understand all the costs that would go into all these different projects and how that ripples out to us, the boating community, from a cost perspective. So we can then write a 5-year plan to present to the select board, so they're comfortable with the way that we're helping work with Nancy Holt to manage the finances of the Waterway Enterprise Fund. Because the enterprise fund, as you're probably aware, it's self-sustaining. The revenue we generate has to cover the costs. We don't take money from the town, tax money. So obviously, any projects that we have, there's only a few levers we can pull to add revenue, and we've done, I think, an exceptional job over the past 10 to 15 years of holding costs down, the boating community. And I don't think the goal of anyone at this table up here is to go out and spend crazy and increase costs and drive people out of boating, or at least out of being able to use the moorings and slips in Scituate Water.
Colleen.
Sure, thank you. One other thing that I think I don't know if you considered that with FEMA and the National Flood Insurance Policy, you're capped at $500,000 for a municipal building or insurance. So to build something over 10 million just seems like we're very underinsured, and looking at other options, like just doing the minimal repairs that we need. I don't know if this property is supposed to be a repetitive loss property, or if there's ever been a FEMA claim on it as it is now.
There's been a FEMA claim on the marina, but I'm not aware of a FEMA claim on the building, Stephen. There was never been a FEMA claim on the building, right? No.
And
The building is not severe repetitive loss.
Okay.
It's not.
Yep. Any other questions? Brad.
Brad White, 149 Old Main, Marshfield. what we're talking about here are fixed costs in accounting. You've got fixed costs and soft costs, which are variable costs. And I think that's a danger zone. It was a slide number 4 or 5, we kind of glossed over it, with tariffs. Tariffs are the wild card today, turn on the TV, they're happening this week, and they're real. So I think that if there's no accommodation met for a coefficient of tariffs or a bucket, 10%, 15%, that this presentation can get laughed out of the room. Because if we are not responsible to include what a tariff potentially could be, then people are gonna say, well, you don't understand the cost. So bottom line is, the elephant in the room is something we don't know about. We don't know, is it American-made goods, overseas-made goods? But the bottom line is, there should be some provision for it, because when you look at those soft costs, they can add up very quickly. Like, for instance, when this whole project started, it was $8 million. 3 or 4 years later, it was $16 million. Now it's come back down to 8 with negotiation. So these costs can creep up very quickly and very fast. But I appreciate the way you reduce this down so we can all understand it, but let's not soft pedal real costs.
I agree with you 100%, Brad. I mean, I identified one of the reasons why I'm not buying Fennessey's. You can see it's right up there. I'm not buying Fennessey's cost set model, and tariffs is identified there. I'm extremely well aware of the ramifications of tariffs, and it's not just foreign goods, because what will happen is Canadian steel goes up, the American manufacturers are going to draft right behind them because they can. And frankly, whether we're buying internationally or we're buying domestically, costs are going to go up with tariffs. There's no two ways about it. And it's not accounted for in this. And I said in the beginning that my $2,400 estimate that I'm using Marion, I feel is low. And I feel it's low because it's from 2023. But I also have brought up the point that they're using inflation of 3.6 and 3%, but inflation is eggs and other things. It's not steel. And when you take non-residential building, their inflation predictions are around 5 to 6%. So the 3% is low, I feel. It should be 5 to 6. So I think Mike might have said that the 2,400 is low, and I'm not disagreeing with that at all. I think it is low, and it's Mike Day here. And the other Mike who said that his billing is 3,800. I plan on rerunning our numbers to those to see what that yields.
I can tell everybody that this has not been a just throw it under the rug event. We've had multiple meetings trying to understand our numbers, number one. Number two, Brian used to have hair, he's lost it all, I guess. Brian has worked hours trying to find solutions and understand how this is going to affect us from a financial standpoint. And Brian, thank you. And he's still working hard at it, and he's got some more information today. So we're still trying to understand this whole feasibility study. And our goal is to continue to try to make a recommendation to the select board with what we feel, and also taking all the comments in from everybody that's here. What is the best direction for the select board? So as far as I'm concerned, I think everything is on the table right now. And we really appreciate the comments that have been brought to us. What I would like to do now is I would like to go across my table up here to all of our commission members and get their feelings. And then I want to get the audience involved and get your thoughts after we talk and get some ideas from our commission members. So that's the next couple minutes with this discussion. So I'd like to start with Mike. And I think everybody knows Mike DeMayo. Mike is also the harbor master for the town of Marshfield. So Mike has got some really good working knowledge on this. Mike, what are your thoughts?
Oh, thanks, Dave. Like I said, I speak from experience. I've been through the project in Marshfield. Marshfield was very successful in getting 2 grants, $2 million from the state. The climate may have changed a little bit at the state level, but we're very fortunate, so will other communities. But it's a hard process to permit, to get done, especially community buy-in. I'm a resident here as well. I work in Marshfield. I'm actually the shelf responsible in Scituate Marshfield. And I've been through the process. It's when you do it, the little bit sometimes it's very hard to deal with those contractors, but At the end of the day, the building's the building. Personally, I feel the building should have some public space in it, like our building has space 29 by 36 for, the community for meetings like this. We use it a lot for, boating safety classes, waterways meetings and things like that. I think that should be included. I think the current building is god awful looking. I'm not a contractor, so I'm not sure if it can be repaired, but something should be done there. I think the harbor should be the focal point of the community. Yeah, it comes at a cost. I don't think the waterway should be the sole burden of that. You look at other projects in town, that should be, everybody should be buying in. You have a boat ramp in Scituate Harbor on Jericho Road, so you're telling me a person can launch this 30-foot boat, go fishing for the day, come and go for no fee, but the boaters have to pay X amount of money more for a building. I don't personally think that's fair.
Yeah.
That's just my sentiment on that, but something needs to be done there, like, for maintenance or cleaning up, but like, it should be a focal point, and it should be welcoming, it should be warming for people that are coming to Scituate. And that's all I'll say.
Thank you, Mike. TJ.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm TJ Malvesti, just background real quick, I was in the Coast Guard in the small boat community for 30 years. So I understand, the need to have a space that the harbor master can operate out of, can, him and his staff be able to be really agile and responsive to not only, boater safety, but also, as Mike was saying, welcoming to, to our harbor, to our town. I think that is an important piece to give Stephen and his crew the support he needs to run his operations and provide a place for our transient boaters and our slip and mooring pay, folks to be able to have a place to interact with the town harbor master. However, I don't think that the Waterways Committee and our enterprise fund should fund this whole project. And this weekend, I spent 2 full days down at Heritage Days and saw the amount of visitors from out of town, presumably out of town, lining up into the harbor master's office to use those facilities. Granted, it's good visibility for the town. However, this weekend, that building basically serves as a bathroom stop for folks in the beer garden. So I do think that we do need to look at alternatives. I'm open to some type of split between the town and the waterways, but I don't think, I think we're very fortunate in town to have an affordable marina for folks that don't want to go to, Dollars or Middle Wharf, and I think keeping the prices for our residents, affordable is the thing we should be doing. Thank you.
Thanks, TJ. Howie. You find him.
I think he went to sleep.
He's in there, he's there.
Hold on, Hal, you're muted.
Maybe it's better that way. I don't know. No, I think that we could make some improvements to the harbor master's office alone. I think what's been offered to us as a 3-phased approach is way too large. I would agree that if the town needs public bathrooms, which we do, then that segment should be funded by the town and not on the back of waterways people. It's just like the waterways fund isn't used to pave roads or build schools or water treatment plants. So why would we consider funding a need for public bathrooms? As far as the Coast Guard goes, they've already scaled back, even though they might have given us some comments about being interested to be here, of which they're not paying very much money to us. Their operation shows that they're not here at all, or only on a periodic basis on weekends. So maybe we look at the building. Maybe we look at making it smaller. We have 3 full-time employees. 3 full-time employees. We didn't triple our moorings. We didn't triple the size of our slips. Yet we're building this big building, which currently houses 3 full-time people. So maybe we can improve the harbor master building itself by not having to add some of the things. Maybe we size it down. Maybe it's not 2 stories, but make it fully functional and make it welcoming to transient boaters.
Thank you, Howie. Brian?
Thanks, Dave. Brian Cronin, so my background, was I started working as an assistant harbor master in 1988 when I guess the building was 4 years old, so, I've seen it for a long time. But, I kind of echo what Howie said is that, we should be looking at a scaled down project or possible renovation. I think the proposed project of rebuilding with the Coast Guard is too much. I think we need to improve the restrooms, we need to improve the transient boating facilities, and we need to improve the harbor master's office, but it's too big, too much. And we should look at a scaled down renovation or a scaled down project.
Thank you. Dave?
Dave Haley, I'm a commercial fisherman in Scituate. I can remember old John Fenton on the pier in a 4x8 garden shed. That was the harbor master's building. And he did fine. I think, you know, I agree with Brian and Mike, that thing with bringing in those trailers, it seems like everybody goes back to this public bathroom thing. Well, let's just build a friggin' public bathroom and get over with it. You know, I don't think we need all this for 3 full-time employees. Sorry, Stephen, but.
I don't, it doesn't change my pay.
But it's just, yeah, it's just, like Brian said, it's too big, too much, not now.
Thank you, Dave. Brian?
Brian Kelly, I'm not gonna reiterate what the others have already stated. I certainly support and agree with their positions. I would like to point out that this was a feasibility study, which Dr. Murray has frequently pointed out to us. And it should be looked at as a first draft. I too think that the harbor master building could be designed a little bit better, not having windows on the north wall facing the harbor. Having, I'm not gonna get into the details on it, but it certainly could be, I think the building could be evaluated, the public side, the second building, so to speak. I understand the need for a laundromat when there's one 100 feet across the parking lot. And frankly, I would hope that maybe that it gets relooked at on a smaller scale with support from the town for public bathrooms for the town walkers and KFC goers and all the other carnival folks. Michael
Gibbons.
Michael Gibbons, like Brian, worked in the facility from, I think, 87 to 95, so I'm pretty familiar with the building itself. Yeah, it's looked a lot better than it does today, right? It's getting kind of old, long in the tooth. I'm not in favor of doing any of the 3 scenarios that we have today, mostly because of cost. I would say that I'm in favor of doing something to replace the building, but it's got to be on a scale that matches kind of financially where we think we can get money to support it without crushing the boating community and making it too expensive. So scenario 1, the building itself, it's a nice looking building, but it's probably a little bit too big as it is, right? I realize you got to go up and it's going to interfere with the views of the people that are around it, but I think if you took off the 3rd level and kind of adjusted the scope of what needs to be in there, that might be a viable scenario. I do think we need to have public bathrooms down there and bathrooms for transient boaters. I think we travel to other areas, we see that's quite commonplace. Just in Newburyport 2 weekends ago, and they have a pretty new building up there as well, which has separate bathrooms for the boating community. Then on the backside of those same bathrooms, they have public bathrooms open to everyone. So I think that would be very nice to have, but if we're paying for public restrooms as part of the Waterways Enterprise Fund, I think I can get behind it. I think the scenario for that should be something like a split on the budget to build it, so that some of it is out of the tax base of the town and some of it's on the backs of the Waterways Enterprise Fund. It's shared to all in both, so it should be shared in the cost of it as well. It should not be all in the backs of the boaters, so to speak. The 3rd scenario there, where we talked about the harbor master and the Coast Guard building in one building. As much as I'd like to support the Coast Guard and think they're great to have those guys around, I cannot get behind anything that says we would be funding and paying several $1,000,000 for a Coast Guard wing of a building. I think one of the estimates was around 3.5 million for just that section of it, right? Just can't afford to do that, and when we're getting $270 a month in rent from them.
And 87 cents.
And 87 cents, right? So, the money, it just doesn't make sense financially if you kind of look at that scenario, so. I want the building also to be welcoming, and I think the designs they did were pretty good. But I think I'd want a little more change to the designs itself, and I think it's gonna be scaled down substantially. To get support, so.
Can we take the agenda off so we can see the full planning?
To see what?
See, so we can see Al and anybody else on.
Not pavement.
Those are my-
There he is. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate while we are having a discussion up here, if the audience can sort of, keep it down, please. Dave Sikowski.
Hi, yeah, David Sinkowski. I've been on the board, I think, 6 years. I will do my very best not to repeat anything that's just been said because I agree with everything. I just, dead on. However, I think the function of the harbor master and how it serves the community is kind of an inflection point. So whether or not the harbor master and the police at some point are going to merge like other towns like Marshfield, that might bring a more efficient approach to it. Whether or not we might be outsourcing maintenance, should we be paying, should town employees be taking care of the docks, or is this something a private company could do a better job than town employees? I don't know. Will the Coast Guard be leaving? But all of these things in motion, spending this money now, creating a building for what we see will be needed is, I think, quite difficult, which is, I think, if I could put myself forward, this is the reason why this board hasn't brought up the idea yet. We're not there. So I would leave that at that. The second point of this situation is if the select board is going to push this onto us, but when we're not asking for it, as it was already said, the design that's been given, we have concerns with. We think it could be better to meet the public's needs. So I won't go into that again. I think Mike just did that perfectly. And then it was already touched on the expenses, and I think the 2 points I'm gonna leave because they already spoke, so I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Dr. Murray.
Yeah, so unlike my friend Dave Sinkowski, I am gonna repeat what some people have said because I think it bears worth repeating. And as the youngest of 6 children, I learned a long time ago, if you don't talk a lot, you're not gonna get your point across. So I do want to make some points here. I'm driven by 2 or 3 umbrella level comments. Number one, I appreciate Brian reminding that it's a feasibility study, so I respectfully disagree with you, Mike, a little bit about, yeah, there's no borings and all that sort of stuff. Was never in the call, was never part of the process, but you're absolutely right. Everybody's absolutely right. Those costs are not figured in what we're talking about here, so those costs are going to be considerably greater than even the maximum estimate from everybody here. So the goal of the project was, as a feasibility study, was to, can a building at all, I don't care what it be made out of, could it be permitted there, given all the regulations these days? Could it be a proper size to accommodate the anticipated needs of the harbor and all that stuff? Pure and simple, just a feasibility about could a building be put down there? Could, not should. And not could it be done financially, we needed to get the numbers. So in that respect, and in other ways, I think the feasibility study was extremely successful. Because without the feasibility study, none of us would be here right now talking about this and getting some, albeit rough numbers, put together. And none of us will be having this conversation. So I think the feasibility study, which is completed and it does exist, and now it's closed as a document, not as a process, but closed as a document, is stimulating this conversation. And we do know that we can, not should, put a building there. So that's number one. Just want to put that up. Number two, I think we all need to remember, and I'm constantly reminding myself of that when I talk to people down on the docks and where else. of what the purpose is of having town-owned marinas to begin with. Yeah, the town could turn this over and try to make maximum profit, make maximum money, and charge hundreds of dollars per square foot like the private marinas, but that's not our job. Our job is to be inclusive of the harbor. So people who are quote unquote of, you know, the mean financial picture. You know, one could argue if anybody has a boat, you know, whatever, but. So the standard 25-foot center console, that's the, you know, we use as a model, so that remains attainable. So I'm very worried about the price of whatever we do. Actually, even if we do nothing, I'm concerned about the price of what it's going to be costing to maintain dredging and maintain everything else. So I look at feasibility study as feasibility, and I look at the finances and why we exist very, very carefully as sort of my underlining umbrella for the following comments. I think there are a lot of good things in the feasibility study that it's highlighted for our discussion. Number one, what I'm calling severability, option 1, 2, or 3. Personally, I don't think the Coast Guard, I've talked to a lot of people, I've talked to some commercial fishermen, I've talked to others. I know a lot of people from my days working in the feds, at the Coast Guard in DC as well as in Boston. They're not coming back, I don't think, for the long term. They're all doing offshore interdiction, and that's not gonna change with midterm elections or a different president. Their whole model is changing. They're underpaying as is, they're understaffing. I don't think that they offer enough for us to include in there. At a minimum, if we were to include a facility that would accommodate the Coast Guard, they gotta pay a lot more, like an order of magnitude more. They're paying, what, 100 or whatever the hell it is. Yeah, so they've gotta go up, you know, like an order of magnitude, 12,000, something each year. At a minimum, but that's me being generous to the idea of even having them there at all. So now you start thinking, okay, in terms of severability, well, if you don't have the Coast Guard building there, that also increases the potential footprint for our new building, if we have a new building, and I'm not saying we should, I'm just saying if. So then you wouldn't need necessarily a second floor on top of the current structure. You could do a, keeping in mind it's gonna be, if it exists, it'd be elevated. You could do a 1 floor elevated and go back. Severability, bathroom building. One thing we heard consistently from everybody is a need for public bathrooms down there. Great, as some of you guys and folks have mentioned, and many of the audience mentioned, that's a separate issue. Yes, the boaters would benefit, the transients would benefit, which is good, more attractive, but by and large, the main beneficiaries would be the other townspeople that are coming in throughout the summer. So whether it's trailers, which I think is a real groovy idea to really kind of consider, because some of those things are quite nice. And it's seasonal because, you know, we don't have lots and lots of people wanting a public bathroom in like February 5th down in Cole Parkway. So seasonal trailers for bathrooms or something like that, you know, including showers, I think we should explore that. I do think even at those costs, for anything having to do with bathrooms for folks other than the harbor master staff and the harbor master, I do think the town should bear the bulk, if not 100% of the cap cost of the initial construction costs of that. And then I would be open to waterways and the town, you know, or roughly splitting the maintenance, because transient boaters are gonna benefit, regular boaters are gonna benefit, and townspeople are gonna benefit. But the initial construction costs, I think, should come from the town. I'm reminded when I was on the board of selectmen, I had a raging, albeit short, argument with Rick Agnew, who was the TA at the time, and I liked Rick a lot. He was a wicked smart guy. But I don't know if you remember when Mark Patterson and us, we redid the walkway by the gazebo, put in all the nice glass, broken glass, and the rail, the safety, the railing there, 2-pipe rail, got replaced. And Rick Agnew wanted Waterways to pay for that railing, and I was adamant for it, to say, no, That railing is on town property, it's not on the water, that should be paid for by the town. And the prevailing argument that turned Rick was when I pointed out to him that that railing prevents townspeople from falling in the water. It doesn't prevent people from the water falling up onto the parking lot. So I think one can make a sort of a similar analogy there, an argument there. I think pretty strongly that we do need bathrooms down there. It's a separate issue from the facilities that we, to take care of our harbor masters stuff. I also do think that it would be worth considering, starting, the building, if we look only at building number one, because I talked about Coast Guard, I've talked about bathrooms, and I talked about now, I want to talk about the harbor master building itself. I know some of the commissioners and other folks have said, well, gee, I don't like this room over here, or that room over there. That's where it comes into being a feasibility study. I mean, the internal layout, that's just the committee's best work based on the architect, based on everything else. That could all, be moving around. But I raise that issue because I do think it would be worthwhile having a conversation about who and why needs to be on the water as opposed to be located somewhere else in terms of fulfilling the harbor master's goals. I completely believe the harbor master needs to be there, as well as some other staff, and maybe some minimum maintenance for boats, so you don't have to run something else to put the you're on the whaler. But we would need to think very carefully if we build down there at all, as to what actually is required. What do we want? Not what would our culture, comfort level imply, but what is actually required to be on the water down there? Because any building, if we build any building, will cost a lot to maintain. Sea level is not going down, folks. And over the lifespan of this potential new building, maintenance costs are going to be quite high, and flooding is going to get, if anything, worse, and so on and so forth. So I think the feasibility study was very successful for a number of reasons. I think it raised a lot of issues that I think are getting fully vetted. I think we can advise and communicate to the board our thoughts in a productive way. But I also think that we should really look at if we build something new down there, which may or may not be justified. If we do, I would think something very small and segregating out bathroom necessity from the harbor master necessity. And that was about the Coast Guard. I already said too much about that.
Thank you. Stephen.
Well, this started several years ago with my capital plan. I talked about updating the building, making it ADA compliant. It was brought to Waterways. The decision was made to come up with a feasibility study to see if anything could be done to make it ADA compliant. Waterways did support it. It went to town meeting. It was supported at town meeting because that's where I got the money for the grant match. So this isn't just Stephen Mullen that came up with this idea. I just came up with the idea of making building ADA compliant so people with disabilities can use the facility. That kicked off a whole lot of, 50, if it's more than 50% of the cost of the building, you can't do this or you can't do that. I didn't know any of that. I just wanted to make it so that more people could use that building. It's a feasibility study. That's all it is. Okay? Nothing is set in stone. What room is where, how it's built, what it's made out of. Nothing's set in stone. It's a feasibility study. It's a piece of paper. That's it. I did what I was asked to do, came up with it, presented it back to everybody here. Sent it to the select board and to the town administrator. Project's complete. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. My end, I joined this this group because I've been on the water all my life, like a lot of these guys. And I really enjoy being out there and I love everything about it. I'm so happy to live in this wonderful community. It's been a lot for me, accessibility, having the ability to get people involved, something that's very important to us. Community, but you also have to have a focal point where people know that they can go. I'd like to have something that is a little bit upgraded, and as people know, this community spent a lot of money on trying to upgrade a lot of our facilities in town with our schools, our water, our emergency services. Unfortunately, as we move forward in life, everything has to be updated. And it has to look good, and it has to be presentable, because we want people to come down and enjoy our community. And our harbor master building, which has been there now since, what did you say? You started in the 84?
84.
So it's been there a long time, and it shows its age. And I'd like to see something happen there. I would like to say I'm really happy about having this exercise. It was really important for us to do. But going back, you'll notice that what's been happening in this industry, back in the day, especially when life was more affordable, you saw a lot of 30, 40-foot boats in this harbor. And now everything goes so quickly. You're seeing a lot of these center console, and that's why we use the 25-foot boat. And the whole point is, you want to get a lot of people down there, but you've got to make sure that people know where they can go, where the activity is, where the harbor master is, and you want them to be able to sort of feel welcome. And that's the other thing that we've really focused on in the last couple of years, is really showing the value of our harbor. You saw that with the opening of the harbor event. You saw that with the duck drop we just had, helping to kick off Heritage Days. And you'll hear a little bit later on that we're working on a closing event. And then we've tried to open up the harbor a little bit more with the shoulder seasons, which I thought was very, very effective in April, and you're going to see it again in October into November. So our goals really are to just try to make something that the town will be very happy with, and be able to be operated for years. In terms of the Coast Guard side, without getting a firm commitment, I don't have a lot of, I'm not good with the whole thing there. I've spoken to our legislative team, both on the state level and on the federal level, to sort of get their opinions. And they're like, well, we might be able to do this and do that. And I said, with the way things are going on the federal level right now, we don't know what's going to happen. And unless you've got something written in stone that, yeah, you're going to be able to get some type of funding, I don't feel comfortable with that. So my goal is to see something happen where maybe we can get some type of building. By having the bathrooms, it does bring more people down. It does show people a little bit more what's there, and it gives them the opportunity to sort of see the harbor and see what's available. And maybe they're like, this is really cool, I want to get out there. And that's why we really worked hard with even like getting some more kayak racks put around the harbor and up on the up in the river. So I would like to just sort of hopefully see something happen. I really appreciate the job that the committee did, the feasibility group, by working with the architect to put something together. I really appreciate all the support that this committee has done, really trying to thoughtfully think about the best way to manage this and to bring it to our select board for them to take that next step. And I really appreciate everybody coming here and being very involved and really want to understand. And that's what community is. And I really appreciate that. And with that said, now I do want to have a little bit more community involvement before we move on to our next decision on what we're going to do. With a show of hands, who wants to see this type of building happen? Yes or no? Yes, if you want to see this type of building happen. And it can be in a 3-building, 2-building, 1-building. If you want to see some type of a change, some type of an improvement. Yes, sir. And what about sticking with what we have and just seeing if we can make that building better? I'd like to see a show of hands. Well, that's very, very interesting. Thank you, everybody. And then we'll put the last one out there, which we brought up earlier today. Who doesn't want to see anything happen, at that present site?
It's
Okay,
either way.
well, that's very, very interesting. So I appreciate that. Now I'd like to go to our board. What? Did I miss somebody? Hello.
Question, comment.
William Van Otis Place, and now on Neilgate Street. I remember when there was a public facility down there where the Coast Guard station is, okay, before 1964. So forth, so that has been a precedent beforehand, so. My next question is, I watched the presentation by the Cole Parkway redevelopment, whatever, and so forth, and I'm seeing things down there with, they're gonna have parking with shades over it, that are gonna have solar panels. They can't come up with a seawall because they address the fact that anything we could do on the Cole Parkway, if it doesn't include the end of Mill Wharf, the water will just flood in that way, or it'll flood in the other way to a thrush. So we're talking about feasibility of anything, and we're not looking at the fact that global warming is raising seawater levels, and we have flooding in the parkway now. Are we going to flood the parkway? Are we going to build the parkway up so that we can use the porta potties in the winter? Or what are we building down there? If we're not considering what's going on with the sea level.
Well, I know, Mike Gibbons is, on that committee. I attended that, a meeting the other day or a couple weeks ago. And again, those are just, ideas, as they're trying to figure out how to handle it. So this is what we're all trying to do, is figure out the best ways to sort of manage this area. But we're getting there. I'll take two more questions and then I want to try to move along.
Gentleman's point, how does Mass DEP impact this project if there's global warming moving forward and we have to move the building to higher ground?
That, I don't think that was included in this feasibility
The
study.
building's going up,
Yeah, the
Yeah, that's why
DEP,
that's why it's being raised.
yeah, DEP will let you build to a certain height,
You know, cause you have to get to it.
that'll cook.
You have to build to a certain height,
Yeah.
that's the requirement.
How,
At 50% of the value of the building, you have to go up,
Anything else?
and it's just the building, it's not the property.
And the height of the building to the FEMA code depends on what year you're looking at, right?
but if you're
Each year it
making,
goes up and up.
if you're making an investment to address a problem that we have now, shouldn't we be looking down the road to address another problem that may present itself down the road?
That's why this building's going up like 12 feet.
Yeah, I think, I forget the number that's written in there, I think they built it to the DEP allowable 70 years from now. But, you know, this is what I used to do professionally, sea level not going down. Our knowledge about the rates continues to improve and the rates keep going up, they're going to be going up. So the point is, yeah, it's gonna get, flooding's gonna get worse, but it's just gonna be up there. Whether it's an island up there.
That's why the time is
If
so-
there's 4 feet of water in the parking lot,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter how high the building is.
Exactly.
Don't try to get to it.
That's a great-
Well, I know that will, again, that's really above our heads too. And I'm sure that's something that the select board will be, dealing with. I would like to, ask the
Somebody
commission,
back there is questions.
one last question. Hello.
Can renovation require the buildings that you live in?
Anything over 50% of the value
What is it
of the building alone, just the structure. If it's more than 50% of the cost of what the value of the structure is, it has to go up.
And Stephen, was that an assessed value? I know we've talked about
So the
this.
assessed value is about 200,000. The fair market value knows the driver on it.
200.
I give it 200,000.
Yeah.
I think it's free.
I believe it's actually 1.2 for the land.
Land doesn't come in.
That's just.
No, we moved it, you buy the building for 200,000, you bring it out of Western Mass and put it on a piece of
No.
land.
Yes, sir.
Does that renovation include just the inside of the building? Or do you have to go up only when you do the outside building?
It's anything in the building. So if you,
Even
if
if
you replace the bathrooms and it costs more than $100,000 or 200, whatever the value is, half that cost, then it has to go up.
Thank you.
So just using round numbers, if it was 300,000 is the fair market value, right? 150,000, you could do improvements once you tick over that.
151,000, you gotta raise it.
Yeah.
Understood. Thank you.
Lady in the back.
Jennifer Fairbanks, Millgate Street. I would like to ask the harbor master the exact numbers, how many boaters use the bathrooms versus how many transients, people, yes.
I don't know, I don't,
Well, I think we need to know that because the town administrator is saying we're gonna have Pier 44, they'll have to have public restaurants. We probably have more restaurants in all of downtown than any other business. They all have to have restaurants. Go buy a glass of wine, use the bathroom there.
Short of. We'll take two more questions. Yes, sir.
Has any thought been given to buying a houseboat and putting a potty in it?
Love it.
It'll raise with the water. Might be a lot cheaper. I don't know if you can avoid ADA or something, but seems to me you could do for the boaters, and not for the town people, but for the boaters. They could use a bathroom and a shower in a houseboat.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Dennis Thompson from Curtis Road in Scituate, more of a procedural question. Is the commission planning to make a recommendation to the select board as to whether or not it should move forward with a new harbor master station? And potential sources of funding for that? Or what is it that the commission is planning to recommend to the select board?
Well, what a wonderful question, because that's what's gonna happen right now. Where I would like to see from the board, what the board would like to do. Does the board want to make some type of a recommendation? Does the board want to keep on thinking a little bit more, getting more numbers? I'd like to get a little direction from everybody. So.
Mr. Chairman, one question, the feasibility study, is that done? Did we pay for that? Can we go back and say, we want to look at another option, or has that ship sailed?
that's complete.
Now,
It's complete, contract closed.
okay, so what we're locked into from a feasibility study perspective is the three options. Option one, you're building no bathrooms. Option two, building with bathrooms. Option three, with the Coast Guard. So those are everything we're talking about tonight with those three options. There's
Yes.
no room to go back and say, somebody in the audience suggested, well, what if we do like single level but raised up? So that is not in play at all.
Stephen?
The feasibility study is complete and the
I'm
contract
just,
is closed.
for the sake of the audience, even, I'm just clarifying that we couldn't go back and say, hey,
It doesn't mean feasibility study, it just says just that, this is what you can do, you know, down there. You know,
So
does
there's
the
nothing
building
else-
have to be built the way it is? No, I mean, that's, an architect can come in and change the whole design of it. That's, would be like the next step, engineering and architecture.
all right, I think that's good.
Rick?
Yeah, the feasibility study, as Steve Moan just said, the contract's closed, it's done. It's only one piece of the puzzle that we're wrestling with. It's just one piece of data. You know, the other data is the wisdom of this commission. The other data is the wisdom of the community. The other data is the feasibility. So I would argue that, you know, we should put together a memo. And maybe the chair can draft it based on some input from today. And distribute it to the commission ahead of time so we could discuss it at our next meeting. It basically, you know, acknowledges the feasibility study is completed and found it helpful and informative in whatever language you wish. Because it's a good study in the sense of stimulating discussion and in there. And we have concerns about A, B, and C. We think that there's other options as well that need to be considered external to those that are identified in the feasibility study. So to TJ's point, you know, we're not bound to just option 1, 2, or 3 here. We're bound to anything we can creatively think of based on the feedback here and our own feedback.
I mean, it could be,
But I think,
the building could be completely different from what that study shows. This is just a piece of, you know, can something be built down there?
Sure.
if something is built down there, what, you know, you have to raise it up. That's what the question is. You know, would it fit?
But I think part of what he's asking is, you know, is there, you know, this is a beautiful set of plans, you know, you guys. Like we talked about, Rick, you know, hey, let's build a building down there. Oh, what's it gonna look like? You know, oh, I don't know. This is what it's gonna look like. Okay, yeah.
That's what it could look like.
Yeah, it could look like. Is there a way that we could say, all right, show me John Fenton's garden shed down there, jacked up to 2070 levels of water rise.
I'm not going through it again.
You know, but, you know, to look at a smaller picture, and then, you know, the two seasonal trailer porta potties that are brought in. All right, this is what it's gonna look like, this is what $2 million is gonna get you.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if.
Yeah, I think that as a board, we can make a motion saying whatever we want and scale it to how we feel. And that, I think, do we want to wait and put together a memo with and distribute it to the board so everybody can think about it, or we can come up with a motion right now and kind of say that I think that the feeling of the board is that this project, the proposed feasibility study is too large. And they either look at a small renovation of the building or a scaled down project of a scaled down new building. Maybe we could do either one of those. We could make a motion or we could hold off and put together a memo.
Yeah, I think from a financial standpoint and the numbers that Brian has been wrestling with for months. Financially, it's a very challenging project, and I don't know. I just don't feel that we have the money to be able to support that. As I said, with accessibility, I don't want to run everybody out of boating. And what the snares that he has provided all of us the last couple of meetings, if we have to go that route, we're going to be getting our rowboats out, and we don't want that. We enjoy getting on the water. So what's everybody like to do?
I mean, I think.
Dave?
Yep.
Yes, Howie?
Howie?
You know, given all the concerns we have on the project itself and the discussion regarding the feasibility study, would it not be prudent for us to consider maybe sending a memo to the select board saying we've reviewed this feasibility study and the project, and maybe we should consider tabling this project to a future date, given the fact there's a lot of unknowns as far as the structure itself and expense.
Thank you. Indeed. Does anybody on the board feel that that's the way to go?
I would just to his point, I'd almost like to put a knife in it and kill it so that we can realign the ship to our efforts to put something in that space, because I think we all agree it needs to be improved. Let's repeat everything again. And we can just get behind this now and say, let's move on. This is not what we want. We know it's not what we want, but there is a need. And I think that the one piece of new information or the new idea came is from my colleague to my left, when he said, you really need top down or bottom up review of what has to be on the water as far as resources, not what you like, not what historically has been there, but look at it with a fresh set of eyes and saying, this is what has to be here. And then say, what is the building that's going to hold this resource? And that's what we didn't do. And I'd like to try to, and kill's the wrong word, I'd like to kill this, refocus on what we should be doing.
Mr. Murray.
Thank you for that reference, Mr. Sinkowski. I'm fairly confident that with Ms. Schlegel in the audience, as well as Mr. Boudreau, that the select board is not going to run off and start preparing bids for any project down there in the intervening month between now and our next meeting. So I would be most comfortable with us putting together a memo, because I actually think we owe it to the select board today to put in writing, to memorialize, and future boards, to memorialize this conversations in a 1.5-page memo that touches on finances, touches on need, touches on this, touches on that, bathrooms. And then because it's an important subject, we all agree to that document or not. And, you know, one day after our next meeting, in the first week of September or whenever it is. We transmit that to the select board. Again, assuming the select board and the TA between now and then are not gonna run off and start building the thing, which I'm pretty confident about.
Thank you. Anybody else? Does everybody like the idea of a memo to the select board?
Yeah, see that.
Yeah, I think it's probably better than us trying to conjure up something tonight that's, we'll forget something,
I
but.
mean, we could put together a motion here that kind of gives a spirit of what memo might be, something along the lines of, you know, to express, you know, to express our opinion to the select board as to the feasibility study, as well as our thoughts about future harbor master facilities to best suit the town's interests. So, I mean, if you want to document.
I'm not sure we need a motion. I think we
Yeah.
just need to have a course of action. We'll come up with a memo, we'll distribute it to the board. Everybody will
Bingo.
give their input and we can vote on it next meeting.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, Brian.
The third.
I was just trying to do something to reassure people that it will actually happen, that's all. So I'm with you.
All right,
Does everybody sort of agree on that direction?
yes.
You guys down here, make sense?
I think we should get a second opinion first.
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
Get a second opinion from another architect, to see what he says.
Oh, really?
Everybody goes to two doctors, right, for opinions, right?
Yes,
that's true.
Well,
I can't hear this down here, sorry.
So maybe we should get a second opinion from another architect and see what he comes up with.
Well, I like the idea of the memo. I think that's the direction we're gonna go. We're gonna put together a 1.5 page memo. We're gonna run it by the board, have everybody take a look at it, and we'll put it up for a vote at our next commission meeting on the actions. So I think that's the best way to go.
Just to be clear to the community, in recognition of open meeting law, we are not going to be revising this memo amongst ourselves beforehand. And what happens is someone would draft it and then send it without comment to the rest of the board. And the board would look at it in public. Advise that, and so on and so forth. We just want to make it clear to people, not doing this behind closed doors.
Yes, we have a guy on our board that is very adamant to make sure that we're sticking to the open meeting law. He kicks me in the shin all the time about it, so it's actually very good, and I really appreciate that. So I hope everybody appreciates the effort. We all appreciate everybody being here as we've been trying to work through this. And something like this is not gonna be done in 2 hours or 4 hours. We're really trying to take time to make sure we're putting together a good description and a good and a good plan to be able to send up to the select board. So
what do you think? Yeah.
you can tell they're ready to close it up too. If there are any more questions, I'd like to get back into the rest of our meeting, if that's okay.
If anybody should make a motion to have a quick recess to allow people that would like to leave to be able to leave.
Well, you've made that motion. Then I have to go in and ask everybody. Let's just take a 5-minute break. Mr. Cronin.
Yeah, is it possible you could just look at the financial update and the 5-year plan, and then I have a time constraint, and then waive the rest of the agenda, or I can stick around for that, but unfortunately I have to take my laptop and go home. It's kind of like taking a ball. And I apologize.
Throw that down fish.
Well, if the board doesn't have any problem with that, I don't have any problem with that. It's all the normal stuff that we're doing, and
Sounds good. Let's rock and roll.
let's go. So, Brian, was there anything more that we needed to talk about? So we wanted to move on to the capital improvement plan.
Yeah, we wanted to look at the rate.
Rate, 5-year
rates. 5-year rate.
Is everybody okay with us sort of curtailing a lot of the other agenda items and just sort of going through this? Or did you want him to take his laptop and go home? How does everybody feel about that?
I'm gonna open the doors for him, so I'm good with this one.
Okay, yeah, coming up on 2 hours. 2 hours is quite a bit. Okay.
Absolutely.
Brian, you tell me when you're ready.
So I think you gotta give up, full screen, right?
I don't think I'm sharing.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop sharing.
Stop sharing. Try it now, Brian. Kelly?
Being told I'm screen sharing.
Yeah, I see the agenda up behind it.
No, that's me.
Oh,
So that's you, Sharon.
What's that? No, I stopped sharing.
Oh.
Share. Stop sharing. Stop sharing.
Yep.
What if you minimize that?
Hang on.
Am I in there?
Right now, we see Harbor Master and public building only. Who is sharing? We see Brian Kelly, we see you sharing. Do you see that on your end?
Yep, we got it.
Perfect.
Thank you. Probably can be really fast, which will make Dave very happy. Dave to my right, Dave to my left. Let him sit down any day.
Sorry.
And I just lost it again. So the 5-year plan, it's pretty simple. In order to build a 5-year plan, go ahead. In order. There we go. In order to build a 5-year plan, I have to know what projects are we talking about. There's 3 big projects that are sitting out there on Steve's capital plan. The other 2 are minor, which is not a concern, but the 2 dredge and the harbor master build, and which one? If I put these numbers in a 5-year plan. So I just need some direction on this because it's really ridiculous to do this in 6 or 8 different iterations. My thought is that I do one with the dredges and no harbor master building, and then a second one with the dredges and something of a harbor master built. Is my thought.
You have to do the dredges.
I know that, right? That's what I said.
Yes.
I assume yes on both dredge
I
projects.
think he's trying to decide on whether or not he includes some type of a harbor master
So I do
building or not.
2 sets of 5-year plans, one with the harbor master, rather with the dredges, and obviously the ongoing OpEx, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. 2, and where that puts us in a revenue situation, out to. I'll go out to like 30. And then the second one will be if I use overlay on top of the dredge. Something called a harbor master in a building.
So I would say, yeah, do both scenarios and maybe use the second building, right, was kind of middle of the road in the 2.
So if I use the second one, I'm really, the benefit to that is. Even if it ends up only being 1, I'm probably closer to the real cost.
Right.
Based upon what. DeMayo, it's gone. Right,
Yeah.
pointed out, and I'll double check with Mike on its numbers. But yeah, okay, so that's great. Timeframes. So I currently have the dredge projects happening in 27 and 28. Fiscal year, that is. And the harbor master build would be 29. Right, because I think most of us will, but to run this out, that's what I'll use, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, as a subset of this, I will include revenue contributions. OpEx from the different stakeholders here, the 2 marinas. Moorings and the waterways use the only people, in other words, people in private marinas. What's their current contribution to OpEx? Because I took the harbor masters or the waterway enterprise funds, 2024 fiscal year, since 25 is not done. I mean, not complete yet. And there was close to 2,000 line items, and I allocated those out of something like gas. That goes to the entire community. Insurance for the marina, that obviously goes into Cole Parkway. So things like that, I have those numbers and I'll allocate those out to the different stakeholders, overlay any debt service associated with that. So for the marinas, it's only about 69,000 or so a year. And then figure out their revenue contribution versus OpEx, where it is, right?
Good way to look at it.
Right, right.
At which point then I can put together, I present to you folks and we can put together an intelligent 5-year plan, which would say which fees when. Just to continue on here, if I can just bring up one more thing, let's see. So,
Brian, could I just comment maybe for some particular members of our audience? So this 5-year plan, I bring this up once a year, so I'll just do it once, I promise. This 5-year plan does not include anything for the Herring River and those 85 boaters up there who need to be dredged.
that is correct.
Thank you.
It's what's on the 5-year capital plan. That is not on there right now.
Thank you.
Not that, I'm not saying it should or shouldn't be, I'm just saying, Joe Friday here, just the facts. Okay?
Thank you.
So, I'm sorry, that was the one I wanted. So, with full knowledge that we raised marina rates in 22 and 24, mooring rates 22. I think, the last time we had a waterway usage fee was, help me out here, 16?
Yep.
Somewhere in that time frame.
Yeah.
So we'll just figure this out at that point about this is the money we need when we look at the 5-year plan and then make recommendations where it would come from.
And
That's
we
the
need,
5-year plan, right?
yeah, and we need also to, recall that the select board charged us with looking at a 5-year fee plan, which were 5-year, rate plan and like electrical and stuff like that, which would also factor into this, but we haven't been able to do that yet because we don't know what the potential targets are. We don't need to decide this now, but an alternative approach in terms of the harbor master building would be to propose potential, whatever harbor master building, would be to just say, if a building were to be built or something, let's just use 5 million as a placeholder. Because then if it's 10 million, you can double it. You can do the math. That's like acknowledging that the figures we had are not valid because of all the reasons we all just discussed. So we need to decide that down.
I like that.
It's just sort of
Yeah.
a strategy. The danger is then, and we really need to put all sorts of asterisks and bold faces on saying this is a placeholder for like reasons of arithmetic. Only, we don't want that to get baked in. I worry that if we use a figure like $2,132 or whatever it would come out to be, then it would be tacit endorsement of that figure. It's just as we're thinking strategically about how to build this.
Okay, and then also included in there, we'll show some OpEx reductions. So the credit card fees that I've worked with Nancy and Stephen on. Well, today, people can use a check or they can use a credit card. We've been absorbing the credit card fees. Last year, I think it was $22,000 that's sitting. So instead, if people elect to use a credit card fee, there will be a surcharge of 2.5% I'm not quite sure what it would be, or they can use a check.
But Brian, the way, if Nancy does that, the way she wants to do it is you don't pay in the harbor master building, everything gets paid.
Correct, online.
Link's law.
Right.
So there's still a fee to use a check. But it's not close to the credit card fee. It's just a, like
50 cents.
whatever it is. I'm not sure what the fee is, but it wasn't a lot. But you would no longer be able to come in and pay at the harbor master building. She wants it all to go through Link's law.
Okay. All right.
Back row.
There goes my points.
That question from the staff.
Dave O'Toole, 14 Claymore Paris. I just have a question for the waterway dash the dredge. For how you were saying the Herring River doesn't get any effect on that for the 85 customers. Why does the 85 customers pay the $125 waterway fee if they don't get any involvement?
So there was a statement made at a prior meeting that you may have been at that the waterway usage fee was put into place for dredging, and that was erroneous, I believe, when we checked with members of the commission who were serving at that time. It goes towards the operational expenses for the harbor master to run his enterprise,
Okay,
okay? So, and I do feel you, the Herring River, I get it.
but there's also the town ramp there too, you know? And like, we don't get any patrols in the river for people that go fast, right? It's kind of on your own. Yeah, it's kind of just like no man's land out there.
I'm gonna defer to the chairman on this one.
Enjoy it while you got it.
Well, we'll have to take that back up, guys.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit.
That's an excellent subject.
We do go down there when the time is up. You know, it's not,
No.
we just can't, if we can't get down there,
Yeah.
you know, we can't burn up them over, just.
Yeah.
Burn up them.
No, I get it.
Love that.
That's something.
It sparks my mind sometimes, like, you know, 85 boats, that's 10 grand coming out of there every year, it's just like. It's left behind almost, even though it is part of Scituate.
Yep.
For sure, so it's like between the marina, the 85 trucks, or the 85 people there. With their boats, and then the town ramp, and that place gets packed. With the extra add-on that they did for the parking, which is great, but you know, a lot of people go in and out of that river. And
Yeah,
even like,
that opens up another whole can of
yeah,
worms.
I know it's not for today, but I just wanted to say it.
Oh, good, I'm glad you did, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Anything else, Brian?
Nope,
So we're gonna,
he would have been so happy to hear that.
I know.
So we're gonna try to have a plan for next meeting, which is
The
the
third.
September 3rd.
Yep.
Is that what we're aiming for?
Yep, and that means, to meet the timing of the select board, we'll have to meet them towards the end of, their second, select board meeting of that month.
Yeah,
September, which is fine.
September,
Yeah, so we're good.
Okay.
Does anybody have any other comments or suggestions, about the rates and charges? I think we're going in the right direction. Brian, thank you for managing that. Does anybody else have anything to discuss? The only other thing I wanted to do, but I know we gotta get out of here. I'm sorry about that. Did everybody have a chance to take a look at the meeting minutes?
Yes.
Yes, move to approve.
I can tell you.
They're completely incomplete. How can we improve them?
They're complete.
Wait, I'm talking about the July 8th, we had a group of people here with all the input and nothing was captured. I was told it would be captured on the AI feed and it didn't. So, you know, we have the public come here and we don't even write down what they said. And if somehow this is not wrong, I'm in the wrong room.
Well, I thought for these minutes, all you're really supposed to be catching is the motions that are made, any topics that are discussed that are on the agenda, but it's not capture everything, just kind of said it here. But specific about, just if you were gonna do a motion and a vote, you need to capture all that information, you need to capture the information about anything that get brought up as a new topic that is gonna come onto the agenda for another time, stuff like that is on there, but you can't capture everything that is set up in the meeting.
All right.
And and AI was able to sort of capture an overall take of what was happening at that meeting, and then that has been put down in our minutes.
That's in the minutes that you sent us to look at?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see one conversation with the public.
No, there are no specific conversations.
Okay.
From the public, however, the general feed of what the intent was, some of the questions, it's all in, I think, paragraph 2.
Attendees raised concerns about flooding, sea level rise, lack of notification of nearby property owners. Study needs to consider these issues. Deneen emphasized the importance of keeping neighbors informed. And it says people raised issues about the cost. So it generally captures what the topics were. It doesn't say that.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It doesn't say that Bill here said, you know, this or. Yeah.
Okay, my expectations are out of line, apparently.
With that said, I'm sorry, I'm trying to, going too fast. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the meeting minutes for June 4th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. And I have to do a roll call vote. Howie?
Abstain.
Abstain. He was not there.
No, I was there, but I agree with what Mr. Zinkowski's talking about. There ought to be some input that we can read that the specific to the people that were in the room.
But I think that's the July meeting, Howie.
Yeah, right now we're talking about June.
Sorry. Okay.
I would talk with Bill, I still get.
So are you good
Never
with
mind.
June?
I'm
Yes.
good with June. Sorry.
June's good, thank you. TJ,
Aye, yes.
Brian,
Aye.
Brian Kelly, Dave Sinkowski, Rick Murray,
Aye.
let's see, Stevens, Michael Gibbons, Dave, yes. Did I miss anybody? That motion passes, thank you. I know we lost a couple guys. Do we want to vote on the July minutes or do we need to talk a little bit more about this? I did get some comments and the most important one is I did change the date, so we actually have the right date for the actual minutes, so not Wednesday, which you guys saw. It was for Wednesday, I changed it back to Tuesday, which was correct. And then Brian also updated the financial information a little bit more accurately than what I had written down. Would anybody like to entertain a motion to accept the minutes for
Discussion,
7/7? Huh?
discussion.
I think we're going to get a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Is a motion.
Second.
Okay, discussion now, please.
So is there any way that Dave Sinkowski would review either the YouTube video or AI to add to this? I didn't see what you volunteered for.
It's all there.
Dave, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but would that be something you'd want to do?
If someone wants to show me how to get access to this, I'll certainly look into it. I feel that these things should be, but the fact that, Susan Harris isn't able to join us. And she's our liaison to the select board. And we should be able to convey what the public is concerned about, and we're not able to do that. So
Okay.
I don't know. Again, maybe my expectations are out of line.
No, that's fine. So I'm sure that we can get the minutes and there's a YouTube video link that you can go to and take a look. Screen through it and make notes and then I'll come back next with modifications to it. How's that sound? Besides you want to punch me.
I would just caution that we have in the past had very detailed meeting minutes that were too inclusive of what people said or what the secretary or what the person who wrote them down said, and that we had discussions within a meeting of, I did not say that, and somebody said, well, yes, you did, and it's just like, it was too much detail. And it just caused, it didn't solve. I understand the sentiment, but it really, the meeting minutes are just to kind of, it's not what I said verbatim. Because if it was, it would be way too long, but especially with Rick talk.
Was that an inner monologue?
But I mean, Dave, I think take a stab at it, but I just wanna caution that we had some very angry people at meetings in the past, and it was.
We're not present.
Well, yeah, no, but this was years and years ago, but I just, it just, I understand where you're coming from, but I think you might be asking a little too much from a meeting minutes.
I'm humble enough to say I may be.
Just, I would say, give it a stab and let's, and kind of show us what you're looking for, and let's see if we can incorporate it.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think it's important to make sure that the topics are covered. Should I talk more?
Okay, so, just to sort of wrap this one up, we have a motion on the floor. Would anybody, are we to the point where we can make a motion to end this motion? How do you stop a motion?
You got a lot of motions going on in your motion there.
I do.
You only have one
Motion.
You can only have one
I
motion
withdraw
at
the
a time.
motion, withdraw the motion pending revisiting these minutes at our next meeting after their massage by.
Withdraw motion, got it, okay. Okay, and we've got that up there. Does anybody else have anything that they want to bring up? I know we're trying to get at, we're a little bit behind on our schedule. Yes, sir.
Can I just ask same subject, getting the meeting minutes from April, May, June out on the website?
Yep.
That's not something we could get done.
Yeah, I'm trying to get that. That's on me.
Okay.
But we're, yes, sir. Thank you. It's on me. Terrible. If there's nothing else, you have something you want to say?
No, if there's nothing else, I would move that we
Number 6.
apply the agenda due to time constraints and move such matters that we haven't addressed to our next meeting.
I like that. Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:10.
Second.
The two Brians.
All in favor?
No, I gotta do the roll call. Brian Cronin,
Aye.
Brian Kelly,
Aye.
Dave Sikowski,
I.
Howie.
Aye.
Thank you, Rick,
Aye.
TJ,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Michael. Dave, yes. All, thank you, everybody, for